Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from the majestic forests of Maine. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, and it's Animal Attacks April, where we're going to watch a whole bunch of animal biting people movies in the hopes that a paper mill thug's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes that we can make at their expense. And as always, there is only one person I trust that if I need her to understand a point, she will sit and listen to a tape-recorded explanation of what I could just easily fucking tell her. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm good, but I thought you were going to say that I would catch you a giant salmon.
No, I don't know if you haven't seen me fish. I don't think I've ever told any fishing stories. I only have two, and both of them involve me hooking myself with my own fishing pole.
Ow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not outdoorsy.
I thought you were an Eagle Scout.
Again, I was an Eagle Scout. I was the third youngest Eagle Scout in California at the time for one reason and one reason only, and that was to never go camping or wear that uniform again. I just an excuse to get out of it.
I just assumed that, in becoming an Eagle Scout, one needs to be somewhat outdoorsy.
No, you can actually just hate it the entire time and seethe with anger and resentment about it and have that fuel you towards an achievement other people can't even get close to.
But you can't get a badge for that, though, for seething anger.
Yeah, I think several of those badges had a lot of seething and anger involved in their achievement. It just, not automatically reflected in the notes, as it were.
See, I never got any further than maybe the first year of Girl Scouts. And I was like, fuck this.
I was not allowed to fuck this. I wasn't allowed to fuck. I grew up very religious. And I wasn't a fan.
Perhaps if you were, you wouldn't have been an Eagle Scout.
I would be fine without having that achievement, to be honest with you. It means about as much to me as the fact that I ran a robot for almost a year. Like, who fucking cares? It's so stupid. It's just the dumbest thing ever.
You know what else is the dumbest thing ever? This movie.
Prophecy, 1979's Prophecy from director John Frankenheimer, who directed good movies before this, but decided, no, I'm done with that. Here.
Yeah, all of this, the most predominant thing about this movie is there are a lot of people involved in it who've done better things. Oh, and yeah. they are just capitalist slumming in it in this.
It is a spectacular mediocre effort because it's unnecessary in terms of why it decides to be as bad as it is at certain points. And then it has these glorious flashes of someone going, people are going to love and laugh at this moment. And you're kind of like, do you think it be more of that?
You think that? I feel like it's extremely humorless. Like it takes itself very seriously.
It does, but it also feels like this is exposing a universal truth, and like we could be an Oscar movie. But it also features a child who gets exploded in a sleeping bag. Those two things are not in the same lane.
And a guy who gets his head bitten off like a Tootsie Pop. I love it. I love it with the attendant crunching noises.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing about this is that there are moments that are so joyfully ludicrous that either they were intentional or it's just one of those magical moments on film where it's unintentional but perfect.
I'm gonna say it's the latter.
Yeah.
The funny thing about this is like one of those movies for me where the video box art just absolutely freaked me the fuck out as a child.
Yeah.
I think it was fairly iconic as far as horror movie imagery goes. Certainly in as far as marketing material goes. It was like this kind of deformed sort of bear creature, like this was like a fetus
Yeah, it's a Phantom of the Forest sitch where it's all like one half of its face is kind of recognizable as a bear and the other half is like.
Yeah, and when I was a kid and I saw that, I was like, oh shit. That thing's probably hiding under my bed right now. Right next to Cujo.
I mean, if it was hiding underneath your bed, you would be perfectly safe because it can't move. It's a real problem in this movie that the creatures cannot move.
It can't move, and it also constantly announces its presence by going yeah, sort of this like kind of combination of like a bears. They roar, I guess they roar, right? Growl.
Yeah, and but it's kind of a dinosaur too. Yeah,
and like a dinosaur and a duck quacking, and it's not particularly terrifying. And also it announces its presence with the sound it makes.
Yeah, it looks like a wet melted eraser got dropped into a bag of dog hair. It's just it's like you would think like, well, if I saw this in flashes, if it was photographed better, it's weirdly enough, like I would almost put it in the same category, just the creature we're talking about, not the movie, as the quote unquote geek in the Funhouse, right? Like that is a terrifying idea of a creature, but for whatever reason, they could never get that creature's face to move. They could get it to drool, but they couldn't get it to move. And it kind of, the more you see it, the more it sucks away at what is an actual creepy, disturbing, unnerving film. And here, this is not creepy or
no, that you can't. Like you don't even have the satisfaction of saying, well, at least the monster is cool. Because the monster is not cool.
No, it almost feels like no one gave thought to it. Like it'll be like you saw that shark in Jaws. You know, it'll be like that. Like people loved that, and that shark barely moved. But I will, folks, the shark worked. Like you know what a shark looks like. And so when you see that, you're like, I know all of this is fake, but I care about the people on screen and I don't want to see them eaten. And then when you see a kid explode in a blood geyser, you're like, holy shit, this is for real. And it takes almost an hour for that kid to explode in a blossom of feathers. And it's hilarious. It is laugh out loud funny.
Because he decides that because I guess the zipper is broken on his sleeping bag, that he's just going to attempt to hop away like a big giant glowworm. That's not going to work. Why would you think that would work?
You know, he's not in a place where rational thought lives. He's seeing this mutant bear, the Phantom of the Forest, come out. And well, we don't know what happens to his dad and his sister. They just like scream.
Well, according to a later line of dialogue, they were brought to the rescue center in baskets.
In baskets. That's not how you transport dead bodies, in baskets. Also, that doesn't make it worse. Why would that be worse than a body bag? In baskets, they were woven. They were decorative.
They were put on display with some Easter grass that you'll be picking out of your carpet 3 months later.
I would like to read to both Eugenia and our audience a quick excerpt from Vincent Canby's 1979 New York Times review of Prophecy. And he says, Prophecy, which opens today, is full of lingering lap dissolves and elegant camera movements that suggest history is being made here. Leonard Rosenman's soundtrack music is so grand that it could be played at a coronation, and it is so loud that it pierces your ears and threatens your head. None of this fits the movie, which includes a fight between a man with an axe and a man with a chainsaw.
Yeah. There's a chainsaw fight in this, and normally we absolutely love chainsaw fights. Not here, however.
I don't know how it's possible to suck the joy out of an axe on chainsaw fight, but it fucking happens here. Like, it is just, this movie is obviously was greenlit because it's in the Jaws mold, and the screenwriter is the same person who wrote The Omen, but none of it fucking works as intended. It is unbelievably turgid in almost all respects. And I understand why it's a thing of camp. Like if you saw this in a group, right? And you were having a fun time with kind of how just rigid and goofy, unintentionally goofy it is, this would be a good movie for that circumstance, but it is not inherently a good movie.
No.
So let's get right into it. This movie starts with watching three guys over the course of 4 minutes run in almost complete darkness on a soundstage. And like, that's a fucking movie. And then the dog gets away from them and jumps off a cliff. He's like, fuck this. That dog is the smartest person in this entire movie. That's what it comes down to. That dog is smart.
He got to look at that script. He's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Like, call my agent. And then it's harnessed, so they're trying to pull this hound dog back up, and then something snaps the rope, and they're like, oh, two of the guys go, well, we got to go down there and check on this dog. Now I understand this impulse and everything, but they go down and they're looking at it like, what's happening down here? And they immediately get attacked by mutant bear. And then the third guy hears their terrified and horrific screams at being torn apart by an unbelievably tall and powerful creature. And he's like, I got to see this for myself. And he goes fucking down. When you hear people go like, that is not like, I got to see this for myself. Obviously, I'm going to be free from harm. So why don't I get down there? I mean, that dog was still at least like 20 feet off the fucking ground, and it got snatched up by this creature. And this guy is saying to himself, I can overcome this. So he's like, zip, 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 and he goes down there and he just gets fucking yeeted off that rope. And then we get a very long sequence of watching his blood drip on the flashlight on his helmet.
I think it's supposed to be art.
Is it? Is that what this is going for? Art? It's so fucking long. Like you paint a picture and you look at it and you're done.
This movie, this movie really thinks it has something very important to say.
Yes. Absolutely. It is.
And it's not, and it's not mutant bears are cool. we think that's what the movie is trying to say, but that's not what it's actually trying to say.
I mean, I'm really trying to find a comparison. I don't know that there is one in horror to the attitude Prophecy has about itself, but this feels like one of those Oscar movies that the joke is it's described on stage about, you know, Talia Shire plays a cello player who's brought into a torrent of economic disaster when she confronts the prophecy. And then they show a clip. That's what, like, this movie thinks is going to be presented at the fucking Oscars.
Right. Like, I think that if you quote unquote, dismiss this as a horror movie, Frankenheimer and all that would have been appalled. It's like, this is not a horror movie.
It is horrific because mankind is horrific, I think this would be his rejoinder to this.
And if we don't come away with that from the movie with that, don't worry. The characters tell you that several times.
Yeah. The first character that we really meet is Maggie, played by Talia Shire. Not exactly fresh off the Godfather here, but she's a first chair cello player, and she's in her first trimester of pregnancy, and she's dead last in her husband's considerations.
Yeah, Maggie spends pretty much 99% of the movie looking sad.
Yeah.
And then the other 1% looking scared.
And neither feel believable given what else you can see within that frame. It is a particularly thankless role. And I don't know, is she's obviously supposed to be the audience surrogate, because you would never get behind a character like Dr. Rob.
Oh, I feel like some audiences would or were meant to. I think that he, was very much the truth telling hero.
He has a bit of a white savior complex, and you can tell because he's got a Bee Gees beard. And
the rats are eating the babies, Patrick. They're eating the babies.
I know we have given Randy a hard, road on this show, as one of our most repugnant characters, but I don't think we've ever run across a lead character as face punchable as Dr. Rob.
And this is Robert Foxworth, who was kind of a staple of 70s and 80s television.
Yes, fair. And we saw him in The Omen 2. He
yes,
was the one constantly campaigning for famine to be a growth opportunity. What a guy.
So this is a part he knows well.
It is. He's revisiting old territory, but as much of a contemptible ass as he was in The Omen 2, he really takes it up a level. Like, he grabs the asshole sword from Castle Grayskull and holds it up to the sky and achieves the power of a real fucking asshat in this motion picture.
Well, I think he basically is sort of, I feel like he's kind of he's like an aging hippie.
Yeah.
Who kind of into the whole, zero population growth thing, which was a thing when you and I were born, several hundred years ago.
When the best transportation available to you was train. Yes.
Exactly. So he kind of took some of the best and worst qualities of that and became this sort of very cynical, very judgy, kind of looking for every opportunity he can possibly get to grab someone by the collar and shake them. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you some things about the earth, mister. And he doesn't want children because the world is terrible, and who would bring a child into this? And what's a condom? I don't know.
That's certainly someone else's problem, and it can't possibly be mine. I'm a doctor. It is a real rare treat to watch a character who purports himself, and we're constantly told, and so many big words come out of his mouth. Like, he's super, super smart, but he's also really fucking dumb, and he doesn't understand that his sperm is part of what makes a fucking baby. That's wild, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, if you are that dedicated and insistent that you are not gonna have children whatsoever, it is entirely up to you to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's like an outpatient procedure, and a doctor goes snip on one end of the of that tube that delivers sperm, and then zip tube on the other end, and you're baby free for life, y'all.
Yeah, you put a bag of frozen peas on yourself, you're fine after a day or so.
Yeah, you watch some TV, you can drink some beer. You get to sit down for a while. Why? Because you had some tubes in your pee-pee snipped. Like, it's fine. You got what you wanted. You're not in danger of having a baby, but all the fucking still happens. But no, not Dr. Rob. Dr. Rob's sperm is too important to be cut off.
He was about when she finally does break it to him about 3/4 of the way into the movie that she's pregnant. He is about a second away from saying, "How did this happen?"
Yeah. You can read, like, it's in a thought balloon. It literally appears above his head. Like, I'm doing the math on this, and I don't think this is in any way, shape, or form my fault. It's like, no, you were part that takes two to tango, Dr. Rob. Fucking asshat. It should be noted.
But Patrick.
Yes.
The babies are being eaten by rats.
The babies are being eaten by rats. This is part of, I think this is like the beauty of this movie is it purports to show reality. It really wants to put you in a real situation. So Frankenheimer uses this archival footage of an indigenous march on the White House. Probably Carter was in office at that point. And then he shows Dr. Rob pulling up to the Paramount backlot The very obvious
just
Paramount backlot.
Covered in garbage.
It looks like they stopped doing Soylent Green one day and picked up Prophecy the next. That's how out of control, crazy, dystopian it looks.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be DC, I think. Or
yeah,
and it looks like goddamn Beirut. I mean, there's like burned out cars, just garbage everywhere.
I'm like, we've briefly talked Wolfen here and there, and how it like accurately shows how insane crazy there are real locations that you could show of tenement houses that were in truly dilapidated states. But this movie is too afraid to go into those neighborhoods. So it sent out a production hand to spray paint the outside of a building on the Paramount lot with just white and yellow spray paint. That's it. That's all that's available.
Because it's easiest to paint over.
And all the writing, all the scribblings in the same handwriting. When you get inside in the hallway, then all the scribbling is in black and red, because that's how you know what's outside and what's inside, is the colors of the graffiti change. Oh my God. So yeah, he's responding with an ambulance. He's making house calls. I don't really understand his job position necessarily.
Yeah, he works for the EPA, but also he's a doctor, which I mean,
yeah,
but like a medical doctor, who makes house calls, which I don't know how the two tie in together.
I don't either. All I know is that this place looks terrible. None of these apartment buildings have doors.
And apparently he's the only doctor.
But they do have an ice cream guy who seems like he's a fucking hoot. Like, he seems like a real gent, that guy. I want the movie to be about him. He seems lovely. He goes in and the rats are eating the babies, and you get a lot of righteous indignation from him. This is like a weird paradigm, because it's not the first time we've seen like a kind of character like this, because I feel like the 77 version of Body Snatchers also has this health department guy who's an
yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So I think they're like picking little things like that worked. Like, oh, that was a hit. Or I guess it was 78's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like, they're taking a bit from that. They're obviously taking from Jaws, the guy from The Omen's involved. Like, they think they got it all together. But I am an anti-rat on baby violence guy. Gina, I just want to come out and bravely say that and be congratulated for it.
Good sport. Good sport.
Dr. Rob's supervisor or something, Vic, appears out of the Netherverse. That's when we meet the ice cream vendor.
Looks like the guy who got his head blown up in Scanners, but is not the guy who got his head blown up in Scanners.
Yeah, he looks like Frank Oz if he was crafted by a third grader. Everyone has a picture of Frank Oz in their head, and that worked for you because you're that smart that you always know what Frank Oz looks like.
He's like a human crown drawing of Frank Oz. I get
it. Yeah, pretty much. And he's like, "Oh my God, Dr. Rob, you're the only one who can do this, because up in Maine, there's a paper mill that the local Native American tribes are saying are stealing their land, and then the Supreme Court doesn't want to get involved, and none of the land use people want to get involved. It's a political, time bomb. So the best way out of this is to send somebody up under the guise of the EPA and just go, yeah, you can cut down this timber. Fuck. Yeah, you can cut down this forest, or no, you can't." And Dr. Rob's like, "I don't know. There's so much for me to do. I need it here.
I got more babies getting eaten by rats.
I got a real baby on rat war happening down here." Again, anti-baby rat wars. We're just against it. We want to say that, but Dr. Rob feels convinced because this can make a lasting impact, and this will be a future sign that Dr. Rob gets a real hard-on for anything that elevates the status of Dr. Rob.
Oh yeah.
He
is turgid.
Oh yeah, he is. So Dr. Rob, in his infinite wisdom, decides, I'm going to drag up my wife, which he does not know that she is pregnant. But I'm going to drag her up to Maine because this is going to be great. I'm going to go up there and see if this is an ecological disaster, and I'll have my wife with me. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? And if your bingo card included mutant bear attacks, guess what? That's what goes wrong.
Nice little honeymoon.
Yeah, oh yeah. That really gets to the heart of one of the things I noticed on this particular watch was that Prophecy is Jaws if you reinserted all the shitty marital drama from the book.
Yes.
And added a bunch of cultural appropriation.
But my favorite part about them going on this trip is that Talia Shire's character drags her fucking cello with her.
She's the first chair, that comes with a responsibility. You really got to be practicing 24/7. That's her job.
But then she should have just stayed home.
I agree. She really should have stayed home. I don't know why she's like, you know what? This is going to be the perfect time to tell my husband, who does not want to have children, I'm having a baby. While he investigates an ecological disaster. Like, are you out of your fucking
Because he'll definitely be able to focus on my problems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's great. She lands one of those, you can't see the forest for the trees, and Dr. Rob just sits on it. Just like, And finally she's like, it's a joke. If you have to say it's a joke after saying such a very, pale idiom, things are bad in that relationship. It's not going well.
Oh yeah, they kind of have that weird like movie relationship where you're told they're a couple, but there's nothing about the way they interact with each other that feels like a couple.
There are no sparks coming off these two. Like both of them could have those wheels that create sparks, and they would still be stifled if they got too close to one another. There is no chemistry happening on screen at all.
No.
You have to stare at Amon DeSante to even get like a semi. It's to be honest with you.
I think that it very much feels like that Robert Foxworth and Talia Shire like first met each other like the day they started shooting. Okay, you guys are playing husband and wife now.
All right, I think this is a great pairing. So why don't you stand next to each other? Oh, maybe you should stand farther away from each other. Yeah, that's sexier, right? Everyone thinks that's sexier. They look terrible next to one another.
Can we recast one of them? No.
No.
All right.
This is bad. We should have gotten Sally Field. What do you mean she said no? Oh, she said no fucking way ever? Oh, shit. We're in trouble. He is really bad. And then it forces everyone else in the movie to try to make up for the charisma gap. And wandering straight into this right away is a dog on a harness. Best character in the entire movie.
Absolutely.
I'm very sad that dog had to be flown via helicopter harness and everything, but it's great. The film goes downhill after that dog on a harness goes away. To replace it, we get a rich vein of gee gosh willikers coming our way from the camping family. We don't know their names. We'll never learn them. They're the camping family.
I am boggled. Again, I too am not a particularly outdoorsy person.
Mm-hmm.
I have gone camping and more or less enjoyed it. But the idea of having to do a 3-day hike before you could even get to your campsite is like, what? I live in America. Why would I do that?
What point during that 3-day hike would be like less than where you're getting?
You're going to be like you're going to be on the other end of the state in 3 days. like how deep and impenetrable is this forest? I mean, are they like the group in the Blair Witch where they just keep walking around in circles? Like it's not going to take you 3 days to get from the end of a forest to into the forest.
Yeah, and their backpacks are not that big. Like, where's all their food? I don't understand.
But the sister brought her disco radio, so that's good. Yeah. She's prepared.
That I do love that her radio seems constantly tuned to interstitial music from Chip's channel. I love that part. I love faux disco when it comes to like they could pay for a song. No. We'll do a faux disco thing. Everyone loves it. It'll be fine. It'll never age poorly. And then into the scene in a car that has not stopped yet. Hops Richard Dysart.
Who turns out to be typecast as a guy who gets murdered by a mutant.
Yeah. Who knew that this was a role he could easily fill?
He has been in his I don't know if Mr. Dysart is still with us, but his illustrious career has included at least twice getting crunched by a monster.
Yeah. Dysart looks like he was born falling asleep on a lazy boy watching golf. He's just has an inherent age to him that like he could have been 35 in this movie for all I know, but he looks 60 and that is a talent. It really is.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dysart is playing Bethel Isley from the main contingent of the Isley brothers. And
he's got that Stephen King New England accent going on.
Yeah, the "ayah" is implied, if not spoken aloud, at all times. And then he's like, "Why are you flying that dog on the helicopter?" He's like, well, we had some forestry boys go up there and they got missing. So then we sent the rescue team and then they disappeared. And
he's like, it happens.
Yeah. But then Dr. Rob is like, is that possible? Yeah. Yes, it's possible for a rescue team to disappear. What the fuck it's possible. But like, they're not inherently undisappearable. That's not.
Well, it's possible if for whatever reason they're doing their search and rescue at night. which they
full bore at night,
which they are for no discernible reason.
Well, they're trying to chase after that dog who's in such a hurry to leave the movie that he flies off a fucking cliff. So, there's that. Then we get to watch all these people drive in cars for, I shit you not, 4 straight minutes. Like,
yeah, feels a little Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
At least Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is giving us something. Like, they're driving on a dirt road through trees. I get it. I get that we're like in a forest, but this movie's like, whoa, forest. You're like, yeah, like the soundtrack is having a fucking heart attack while this is going on. You're like, they're still just driving on a road, right? I didn't miss something.
I feel like this is, time that could have been saved by just doing a crane shot of showing, just how isolated they are in the forest, which is what I assume they're trying to do, like just how far removed from civilization they're getting.
Yeah, but I don't need 4
Right. No, I know, but that's why I'm saying that I think one long above shot, would have taken care of that, but they either didn't want to do that or couldn't do that.
It's like John Frankenheimer was given access to a helicopter and reams of film, and they're like, "Listen, we'll give you an extra $1,000 if this movie is unnecessarily 100 minutes long." And he's like, "I can do it."
Challenge accepted.
And this amazingly riveting footage is only interrupted when we welcome Italian born and bred Armand Asante as John Hawks.
He's so bad at this.
Oh my God. I mean, he's easy on the eyes, but that's about it. His
face is stone. And he looks just like, what the fuck have I done? I realize that his characters is also, like Dr. Ross, is to be very serious and to the point where he is possibly putting his own self-righteousness above the needs and safety of everybody else.
Yeah.
But at least the best I can say is at least they don't have a we're not so different, you and I conversation. But But yeah, he's just glowering through this entire movie, like he got tricked into signing the contract for it. like he woke up one morning after a bender on the set of this movie and saying, 5 minutes, Mr. Asante.
It's like, well, I didn't sign up for a mutant bear movie where I play a Native American, right? I did.
Well, actually, Mr. Asante, the contract here.
Is that signed? I signed that? Oh, shit.
It's an A and some scribbling.
Oh my God, it's going to be a very uncomfortable evening at the Oscars when this movie is up for Best Picture. I mean, boy, Sally Field's going to feel really stupid that she wasn't in this movie. Right, guys? Right? Right? Oh, she said it was bullshit. She said it was the worst idea anyone had ever approached her with. Oh, fuck. How do I get out of this movie? He can't. He's locked in, but thank goodness. As mentioned earlier, we get an axe on chainsaw fight, and it's underwhelming.
It is underwhelming because there's no dramatic stakes. I mean, you know that that neither of these people are going to kill the other person.
Yes, they're going for bragging rights.
My favorite part about this is how, Talia Shire looks a little bit put out.
Yeah.
Dr. Rob, sort of incensed, but Dr. Rob always looks incensed about something. And Dysart's character is like, oh, no big deal. This happens all the time.
No, every once in a while we got to settle a dispute with an axe and chainsaw fight. Yeah, that's what we do up here.
That's just country living for you.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, Dr. Rob's just like, must we have this fight?
I mean, I'm just amazed that they don't get back in the car, turn it around, and go in the other direction.
But they should. That's the wacky thing here is like, is it the best way to conduct an environmental impact examination to put you in a cabin that's at least 2 fucking hours away from the source of the problem?
Also, one researcher?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't profess to know how these kinds of things work, but I assume that you need a team.
Yeah.
You need, someone to take the samples. You need another person to look at the samples. You need a third person to write the report. No, he's getting the samples himself and mailing them.
That's the best way to keep your samples fresh.
Which does not seem like a practical use of your resources.
No, I don't think resources were ever considered in the making of this film. I mean, it's obviously concocted by somebody who knows as much about environmental problems as he did the devil. He just got away with it the first time. Like, he's not trying to explain how the devil works necessarily in The Omen, and you just kind of buy it because it's so beautifully theatrical and over the top. That knows its tone very well. Here, boy, no one, I mean, the tone is, this is Gandhi set in the Maine woods.
We're talking about very important things.
They are so important. And you know it's important when you watch a large salmon eat a duck on camera. And then, am I supposed to be scared by this? Am I supposed to be frightened or even concerned when I watch a large prop fish eat a duck?
Also, I mean, I don't know how big salmon get. I mean, that could have been a perfectly normal sized salmon for all I know.
But we get a full fucking fishing scene of Dr. Rob. And so we get like this very long sequence in which we maybe hear bears breathing hard in the woods. And then Amon Desante shows up and you're like, am I supposed to be here? Yes? No? Okay, I go now. And then he leaves. That's the scene. Dr. Rob proceeds, as Talia Shire is trying to get through to him, like, all right, I'm gonna tell him that we're having a baby. And at the mere mention of, I feel like we shouldn't be the only people in our family, he gets up. He's, oh no, we're not going to talk about feelings. we're not going to talk about emotions. I'm a very serious person. I am Dr. I Miss the Piece of the Ghetto Rob. That is an actual line. I miss the piece of the ghetto.
I almost forgot about that.
I didn't think I was going to get through this movie with notes. I started 2 days ago. I did it in piecemeal, but holy jamoli, there was a lot to write down. And then there would be long stretches of time where I'm wondering, why is this movie wasting its own time and mine? It just would just meander for long periods of time. And then every once in a while, you have a rabid raccoon fight and you're like, hey, baby, we're back in business. Before we have a rabid raccoon fight, though, we do get to see a makeout session. And I have a question to ask you, Gina, and that is, do you think Talia Shire receives stunt pay for kissing Robert Foxworth in the condition he shows up here?
God, I hope so.
Who was not receiving stunt pay is that raccoon, that live raccoon they have a fight with. He does a great job. Some of the best acting in the movie. I would say it's underdog on Harness from Helicopter, but very close.
Yeah, the actual live animals in this are much better actors than the humans.
Yeah, they're very natural, not to put too fine a point on it, but I just did. He manages to kill that raccoon by decapitating it semi with an oar and then throwing it into the fire. And then they go off the next day and he's on the phone with somebody. He's like, did you get the tissue samples of this raccoon? Examine my raccoon.
Because he is, evidently mailing these samples, and like, I guess he's overnight mailing it. Like, who's paying for this?
I don't know. I assume the federal government is, and whatever the federal government wants, it gets. And that even includes fast shipping on semi-burned rabid raccoon meat. Sure, why not? But at the same, I don't know, canoe race that they're making this phone call from, Hawks approaches Dr. Rob and says, listen, I know you're here to do a job, but part of the environmental impact is the actual people who live here, which I'm a member and I would like you to see them. And Dr. Rob does not take kindly to this suggestion that he do his fucking job.
Well, yeah, I mean, how dare you tell the brilliant Dr. Rob that he should be looking at something else, but other than what he's examining.
Yeah, he doesn't have it on the books. And he's like, did they tell you that we were violent? They tell you we were savages? And he's like, well,
oh yeah, my favorite part is that Richard Dysart's character tries to claim that it's the Native American people who are just murdering and apparently eating the people who've gone missing in the forest.
Yeah. And he travels with a constant posse of goons, and he's thinking like Dr. Rob will never believe Hawks because I'm constantly walking around with armed chainsaw goons. Like he's as far as like racist logic, it really works for that character. And so like Rob's like, like, I don't know how to help you here. And Hawks is like, well, these people are violent towards us. And Dr. Rob's attitude is kind of like, well, like, what were you wearing? Were you in a bar by yourself? Were you asking for it? It's kind of like, Rob, Dr. Rob.
To quote a Patrick Hamilton favorite, that seems like a YP, not an MP.
It very much is. So they all go off to visit Grandpa Marai, and
I swear to God, every time Grandpa speaks, I expect to be like some mystical pan flute music playing in the background.
It's implied. Once again, that's an implied thing in this motion picture, and we get one of those beautiful moments that someone thought this. Like, I need to portray someone being this subtly racist and micro-triggery. When Maggie sees him, she's just like, you have a lovely teepee. It's like, he's an old indigenous guy. He's not entirely deaf. That doesn't really help with the translation there. I know he does have a hearing aid in his ear, but shouting at him is not helping here. The guy who's playing Mirai is actually the first indigenous performer to actually speak words in the movie. Ramona plays his granddaughter, and she's played by Victoria Racomo, who is of Filipino-Irish descent. Well, this movie does not give a fuck for trying to get this verisimilitude out there. It's just like,
well, to be fair, that was, that was a thing.
To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of embarrassing, quote unquote Native American casting up until probably like what the hell am I talking about? When the fuck did the Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp come out? Was that like 10 years ago?
Cleared the hurdle.
We don't really have much room to chide them for their their poor casting decisions.
Yeah, this is true. We can still point it out. The other thing that gets pointed out to us is the true majesty, the glory, it's so beautiful you can't take your eyes off of it. It's the paper mill. I
have to admit, I found the extended sequences in the paper mill. It was a little bit like watching like an educational film.
Yeah.
Like it should have had somebody like, we often have no idea what paper, how much use does paper have in our lives.
You have it in your desk. You have it in your office. Your father uses it to read the news. But do you know where paper comes from?
Imagine a day without paper.
Then a magical paper creature goes, well, you got your wish. And then all the paper things disappear. Oh, boy. Yeah, this movie has not met a fanfare that it couldn't shove on screen. Like, we are getting a paper mill tour in real time. It's just astounding. And it just takes like a full 10-minute scene for Dr. Rob to ask, like, do you know all the chemicals that are used in the process? And he's like, yeah, there's like 2, but they never leave they never, leave the factory. So it's not an issue. Why don't you go test the water? And on their way back to their boat, because they took the boat to the paper mill, because who wouldn't when you're 2 hours away on a lake from the paper mill? Talia Shire, missteps off a log and comes up with mercury on her.
Yeah, we have this other chemical. Oh yeah, and we use mercury.
Yeah.
like the idea is, we forgot about the mercury.
Yeah. Oopsie doodle, it's mercury all the way down. Dr. Rob's like, they had a trick question in medical school. What's liquid but isn't, what's like water but isn't liquid? It's mercury. And then he's like, we get an entire sequence in the cabin where it revolves around him recording his own voice of his freeform thoughts. And I know this is odd coming from someone who is also sitting in his own house, speaking aloud freeform into a microphone, but it's not inherently cinematic.
That's why there haven't been any movies about podcasters yet.
Right. This is like, it isn't really so much a horror movie so much as it must be like to attend the worst live podcast recording of all time. Like the audacity to think, like, I've never held off on explaining something to Becky and then go, you know what will do a better job of explaining this to you? A podcast I recorded. Play. And I walk out of the room. This happens in this movie. Prophecy, the movie that dares you to watch people listen to a cassette tape. But we learn what is happening here because mercury is mutating the animals from birth on. And earlier we had heard that the indigenous tribes were having trouble with newborns and fetal abnormalities. And this is when Dr. Rob yells, "Freakism!" at the top of his lungs. And we get Talia Shire going, wait a second. I have bebe. What about my bebe? I ate fish. The fish have the mercury. Now the mercury is in bebe. Oh no. And that is a real thing. that is terrible and has real life circumstances. And this movie is like, aren't we brave for tackling this subject?
Yeah, and I'm a little dubious that a medical doctor, even in the 70s would use the word freakism to describe deformities caused by chemical poisoning.
I'm going to break it down to you like a real person from the streets, which I am, because I go to the ghetto for at least 2 hours, 3 times a week.
I've seen rats eat babies.
I've seen real baby on rat fights in pits. Usually this takes place in international waters, but it's taking place on our shores. I've seen it with my own eyes, my own doctor eyes. Now we're about an hour into this movie, and we've only seen one very implied bear attack. And you're thinking, well, for a mutant bear attack movie, this is somewhat dry on the mutant bear attacks. Well, you're in, luck and dick fingers, because that beautiful hiker family in mid-sleep is going to be visited by this mutant bear. Inside of that mutant bear costume, the director of Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. I shit you not. Tom McLaughlin, director of Friday the 13th, Part 6, and a man who was trained in mime by Moomin Shots, is in that fucking costume. And it's not his best work. Just go right out and saying, I don't know who would have done it better, but he doesn't do it great.
Other than the dog and the duck and the raccoon, is anybody really doing their best work here?
Armand DeSante's eyebrows are fantastic. So he's got that going for him. And I love the way that the guy who plays Mirai, his eyeglasses are tilted because one of his ears has the hearing aid. He looks great. That's a great touch. But everything else here is kind of sad. Yeah. With the exception of what happens to that one boy when he tries to hop away from this bear attack. The bear swats him and he flies as if launched from a cannon into a rock, and he explodes.
Just feathers everywhere.
And like, if you were in an audience full of people watching that, it would be hilarious and awesome. Right?
Right, but is it supposed to be funny though?
No.
I don't think it is. I think it's supposed to be, oh my God, that's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yes. That is what
what has God and man wrought?
I mean, you can still ask the questions, but I don't know that it ever really achieves that level of moment again. A couple people also get flung. Like, there's some okay death moments, but that is like, it's a big one to go in and out on an hour into a movie.
That's definitely like when the movie peaks.
Yeah. If you're expecting it to ever be that good again,
and then after that, you're looking at your watch a lot.
So later, while Dr. Rob is taking blood draws from the indigenous people in the forest, Isley and his chainsaw goons show up, and with the popo, and they attempt to haul away Hawks. Another choice moment happens. It's not as glorious, but I did appreciate it in that we see Armand DeSante take off like a bullet inside of the cabin, and then they pull a Texas switch and a stuntman dives out of a window. And the rest of them look at it like, well, I'm not fucking diving through that window. That guy's just gone. Like, he's in the forest now. I mean, granted, it's 20 feet away, but he's just gone. He just appeared.
Yeah, he cannonballs through that thing.
So this prompts Dr. Rob to drag his wife, to drag both of them in a helicopter, very far into the forest. So we get a lot of helicopter on helicopter footage.
Oh yeah, I clearly at least 25% of the budget went into renting a helicopter.
Yeah. And then this contrivance happens that's so beautiful. Like it's a storm and we can't leave because the helicopter, with the wind might veer into the trees. So the helicopter guy's like, I'm not fucking taking off. Like, we're just going to have to find shelter and come back after the storm passes by. And Talia Shire slowly gets out of the helicopter and then attempts to put a handkerchief on her hair in this, terrible rainstorm. And it just flies out of her hands. It's just like, it's fucking amazing. Like, I don't think you could try to do what happens in that particular sequence. It's just one of those things that happened on camera and is beautiful, how pitiful it all looks. But the good news is that she tracks down that handkerchief, and it happens to be near 2 mutated bear babies, one alive and the other very much dead. They're the Freakenstein bears.
Should have had Phil on for this.
They're slime puppets, but slime puppets are puppets too. And
the noise, they make the same noise as their parents, only a little higher, a little more nasal. So it's like. Now here's the thing mm-hmm. that really drove me to distraction about this movie and its last 25-30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Is they take the still living baby, the little mutant bear. Like I said, looks like a little plastic doll and stuck in a microwave for about 5 minutes. And they keep it with them, and they keep it with them, and they keep it with them. And the mother bear is chasing after them, and they are insisting on keeping this baby with them. And I'm like, what are you going to, are you going to treat it? What are you going to do?
He does treat it.
Leave the fucking bear where you found him.
I didn't learn a lot in the Boy Scouts, but fuck with the mama bear's babies is real high up on that list of no.
Yeah, most people who have gone on a camping trip or to any kind of like animal preserve or something like that. Don't fuck with the animals. Don't try to touch the babies. Definitely don't remove the babies from where you find them. But like there's such an easy solution, and so many people get killed because of this. So many, like, sick people get killed.
Yeah, I don't know why someone doesn't say leave the one that's alive, because it can either take care of itself or its mother will return to it. Let's take the carcass of the dead one with us.
Yeah, I mean, if you need it for research purposes, take the dead one.
It's right there.
Yeah, they just, he just spends his whole time, and I guess it's supposed to, I don't know, is that supposed to like telegraph to the audience that, oh, see, he has a heart after all. He's taking care of this little baby, and it's just like, no, put the fucking baby down.
Yeah, no, it's a real problem, and this is when that conversation occurs where Maggie finally tells Dr. Rob that I was pregnant, and he's kind of like, why? And she says, I wanted a baby, and he almost says, well, get a new baby. It's real easy to make a baby. Like, we'll make a second one, I guess, is what we're going towards, because this one is mutated. I just hate to break it to you. And she's like, no, I'm still into it. And so into grandpa's, housing village deep in the forest, here comes this giant snuffleupagus that's caught Akira disease. And he just starts killing every fucking.
Yeah, I like the grandpa like just leads the bear. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. just kill everybody. Eat my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Kill my fellow villagers. It's all right. We have it coming.
He's got a.
It's like you don't have it coming.
Yeah, he's got a.
What did you do?
He's got a real live and let live attitude towards this massacre.
Even when the bear eventually kills him too, he's just like, well.
You know what? It was meant.
That's the law. That's the law of nature for you.
Sometimes you observe the bear, and sometimes you observe the inside of the bear's mouth as he crunches your skull. And luckily for the survivors of this attack, there's a series of caves underneath each of the teepees. that are hidden from view. And the sheriff who has arrived to observe the mutant babies then goes, well, it's all quiet. I'm going to look up, just a little peekaboo and just see what's doing. Okay, be right back. And his head is not up there 1 second before he gets mega mauled. it's pretty, it's amazing. And so for the rest of the film, poor Talia Shire is forced to haul around. Like, I can't imagine how her agent pitched her this. Like, honey, it's a great role. You get pregnant with a mutant baby, and then you haul around a screaming bear puppet for the last half hour. I smell Oscar. And like,
well, I guess.
All right. I've always wanted to learn how to play the cello. So this is going to be the way I do it. This is the way I do it. And so after this attack, half the camp burns down. The guy who was in the chainsaw fight lights on fire, and they crawl out of the caves in the early morning light. And Eyes is like, wait a second. I've got the perfect plan. Let's split up. I'm going to go to the forestry station's radio hut, and I'm just going to break in with my bare hands and make a broadcast, and you guys will get picked up in like 2 hours. And they're like, well, the helicopter pilot isn't going to make it. So we're going to try to long haul it back to our cabin. He's like, great. Listen, we've all got a job to do. Let's do it. And so Isley goes to this camp after we watch him huff and puff up several hills. He meets the dead baby covered in ants. So again, that was the way to go. Take the dead baby, leave the live one, but okay. And then he tries to crawl under the gate that's protecting the radio station, and it's implied that he gets torn in half.
Yeah, I think he goes out like Quint, where the bear monster kind of gobbles him up from like the legs up.
Yeah. And then the rest of the movie is a slow motion chase where we like watch Amon Desante run for 2.5 minutes, or they pile themselves in a bus and then we watch that bus go along a trail for 4 fucking minutes. Or you won't believe the suspense that happens when I flash this flashlight in front of trees that are obviously being moved by grips off camera. The bear appears, and exactly when that happens, Maggie is bitten by the live mutant bear baby. So I assume that Maggie is now vampire.
Vampire.
Is that how vampires are made?
I guess she's just gonna, she's gonna wake up next day.
The mama mutant bear pushes over the bus, and the guy the helicopter pilot who was in the sort of his own basket that they were hauling about, he's left kind of to his own devices because no one can get him out of it. And the bear, just like you said, takes off his head like a Tootsie Pop. It only takes one bite to get to the center.
The world will know. I'm sure you probably read Stephen King's Danse Macabre.
Yes.
He mentions that because he loves that scene.
Yeah, I mean, like Quentin Tarantino also loves this movie, and I get the moments I love. I just don't love the entirety of the movie. For Stephen King, it must be like, oh, they're finally making a horror movie in Maine. Like for him, it's a proof of concept.
Stephen King's taste in movies is a little suspect, really but
is. He likes movies that are projected and can be seen with eyeballs. He's got a low threshold. That's absolutely true. Although I do love to this day still reading Danse Macabre. I think it's a very interesting book about what works in horror and what doesn't, and what is kind of touched on there is more about horror iconography. What isn't is like, how do you make a character that you care for? And I think one of the big ones of like, ooh, I don't like this character so much, that decision is suspect, is when Dr. Rob makes his pregnant wife swim with a mutant bear cub. Are you fucking kidding me, Gina?
Yeah, his wife, who is pregnant with a child who may have freakism,
is like, hey, you're in charge of this mutant bear baby. It's bitten you on the neck once, but it probably won't happen while we're swimming. Wait, it happened again? Yes, asshole.
It's like, you wanted the baby. Get some practice taking care of one.
This is the perfect, if some kids in high school have to take care of an egg, you have to take care of a grotesque, burnt, eraser-looking bear mutant. And then if it's still alive by the time we get to the dock, let's have a child together. You will have proven to me that you are worthy of my seed. Oh my God. Dr. Rob is it is a real race to the bottom, Gina. And Dr. Rob is taking the cake for me.
I would agree. He's definitely up there, down there, however you want to put it.
Yeah. So they swim to the other side. Meanwhile, Mirai is like, oh, hi. This ancient god that I worship. What? You want my face in your mouth? Okay. And that happens. And you see them from a distance with this giant 12-foot tall mutated bear with a dummy, an obvious dummy, Gina.
Love it.
Swinging it around in its mouth because it can't do anything else. And you're like, oh my God. If all of the movie was like that, I'd like it more. It's just, it's just not that.
It needs to give in and be silly.
Yeah.
And it, well, let me rephrase that. It's very silly, but it's not trying to be silly.
Yeah. It's unintentional.
You know what I mean?
Silly.
Like, but it needed to embrace its silliness.
Yeah. But it is too self-serious for that. So now we have a final siege situation where they're inside the cabin and they lock up, they manage. I don't know how they affix all the tableware to the doors and windows. I never see a hammer. Do you?
No.
And yet things seem to stay up against it. Like all the furniture just has loose upward nails inside of it. So you just shove it against the wall and it affixes itself to it. It doesn't matter because that bear comes in through the roof, not once, but twice. It's like, I am very tall. I'm not entering your 6-foot door, everyone, but nice try. And so during this confusion, Ramona gets buried in detritus, and then they go outside and they get a couple shots off at it. Like a single bullet is going to bring this fucking thing down. And Hawks is like shooting arrows into it. And finally the bear just looks at Hawks and is like, all right, I'm done with this. And just swats his ass. He goes flying, akin to a child in a sleeping bag, but not as feathery off into the distance. And then for some reason, the bear then picks up Dr. Rob very gingerly. Now, this bear has not shown any kindness or anything approaching delicate nature. And he's just kind of hoists him up so that he is near his face and kind of like, I want to lick you. La, 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 la. And Dr. Rob's like, I got this one arrow that I couldn't fire because my dumb white hands, my doctor hands were never trained to do this. And he just begins stabbing the bear in the face. And the bear kind of responds like, all right, I see. I had that coming. I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to keep you holding you up where I am most vulnerable. And hopefully you'll get your anger out and then I can eat you. But unfortunately for that mutant bear, Dr. Rob nails it in the eye and it goes sploosh. It just pops like a wet blood balloon all over everything.
Yep. But of course, as the helicopter flies away, or the plane, or the hell they're on, there's another one. I love a good, but wait, there's more ending.
They went for the Carrie scare, and then they're like, well, baby bear was just right, and mama bear was too cold. Let's get something hot up in here. And you get a real nice close-up of Daddy Bear. And he looks great in comparison to everything else. You're like,
yeah, Daddy Bear's like bigger and uglier.
Why did you save the good-looking bear puppet for the last 3-second reveal?
Well, I'm pretty sure all they had was the head.
I'm pretty sure you're right about that. if I remember the behind the scenes features correctly. That is entry 1 in Animal Attacks April.
What are the animals punishing us for? Polluting the water with mercury.
All right, so that's one thing. We have it coming because 1, we're polluting nature with mercury. So you're right. We got that coming. The other thing we've got coming is Choose Your Own Death Venture. That's where we decide of the deaths portrayed in the film. Which one would you choose to die from and why, if forced? Up for bid is mauled, swatted in sleeping bag, mauled and burned to death, mauled in a hole, decapitated in stretcher, half swallowed, and then swatted but outside a sleeping bag. Gina, what say you?
I'm not going to take swatted in sleeping bag because I know that's going to be yours, and I don't want to infringe upon your pleasure with that. Oh gosh.
I mean, we can share it. I'm willing to share if that is your desire. You're not taking glory from me.
You know what? I'll take my head crunched off like a lollipop. It's quick.
It is really quick. That is a great Texas switch that they do there. Frankenheimer loves his Texas switches, and that really works. Yeah, I'm going with swatted in the sleeping bag. It is my worst fear to be camping and have something happen to me. So I'm asking for it in a lot of ways, and I go out in glorious style. That pretty much does it. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about television and movies at thespool.net, and I am on Twitter under porcelain72.
Do it today, people. Check it out. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook group. We got Instagram going ever so occasionally. We're on Letterboxd. That's where you can see all the movies we're thinking about covering in the future. And next week, we're right back at it. It's Animal Attacks April, everyone. That's right. We're going movie after movie after movie here. And we got a real slimy one for you. If you thought the marriage in this movie was bad, wait till you see the next one. You won't believe it, everybody. It's a little ditty called Slugs, brought to you by the director of one of our favorites here at Kill by Kill, Pieces. So imagine Pieces, but with mutated slugs.
Slugs is too, like Pieces, exactly what you think it is.
And I think it's going to be our next episode next week. So don't worry, folks. The body count will continue for myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.